Morning, everyone. Welcome to the October 22nd, 2024 meeting of Henderson County Fiscal Court. We are glad you're with us, and for those watching online, we're glad you are with us as well. We'll begin, as we always do, with invocation, and I'd like to ask Reverend Charles Johnson to come up and lead us in prayer. Please stand.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for this day, for your goodness, your gracious, and your kindness. We ask that as we go through this meeting that you give us guidance, continue to bless our nation as a whole, bless our communities, continue to bless our families and our friends and our neighbors down in the southeast that are still putting their lives back together from the hurricane. Bless the efforts around this nation, especially here in Henderson, that has gone forth to raise funds and supplies to deliver here on this week. Continue to bless our court, our magistrates, our city commissions, and our leadership in this community. And we ask all these things in our Lord and Savior Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Magistrate Starks.
Here.
Magistrate Berry.
Here.
Magistrate Southard.
Here.
Magistrate Tompkins.
Here.
And Magistrate Putman.
Here.
Gentlemen, you have in your packets the extensive and lengthy minutes of the October 8th, 2024 Fiscal Court meeting. I do appreciate you pinch hitting for me that day. After a period of review, I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any corrections, clarifications, or additions? Hearing none, all's in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have a lively agenda today, and I'm glad you're all with us on this beautiful morning. And we'd like to start off with our Judges Scholars, one of the very coolest things we do. And we have with us Javier Delgadillo and his family, and representatives of school from Bengate Elementary. I'd like to ask Javier to join me right up here. Right here, we're going to read a proclamation in your honor.
Whereas Xavier Delgadillo has been chosen by Bengate Elementary School to be the recipient of the Judges Scholar Award for exceptional efforts in both academics and school activities, and whereas Xavier's hard work and dedication in making the most of educational experiences and developing positive relationships with teachers and other students will lead to future success, and whereas success is measured in many different ways, whether it be passing a test, scoring the winning point, achieving a particular goal, or taking the necessary steps for overall improvement, and whereas the Henderson County school system could not let Xavier's efforts go unnoticed, and whereas the Henderson County Fiscal Court supports the school system and acknowledges these accomplishments as being significant because students such as Xavier Delgadillo will be our future leaders, and now therefore, I, Brad Schneider, County Judge Executive of Henderson, join with the Henderson County Fiscal Court to proclaim October 22nd, 2024 as Xavier Delgadillo Day.
You got to learn to handle the paparazzi here.
She is professional at that, I tell you.
Congratulations to Javier and the family, and thank you to Ben Gate for highlighting such an outstanding student and young man. And so now comes the fun part. You get to have a front row seat to how all this happens. Mr. Gold will lean over and give you color commentary every once in a while. So congratulations again. We have another proclamation for Native American Heritage Month, and Jimmy Deal is with us. Is he? Jimmy, want to come up and talk a little bit about this?
In June the 2nd, 1924, Indian Citizenship Act was signed by Calvin Coolidge because of many of the Native Americans that fought in World War I. However, this did not give them the right to vote. Utah was the last state to allow the Indians to vote. That was in 1957. November was selected for this month because of the end of the harvest, and it was signed by George W. Bush. This month, the DAR program is about the Navajo Code Talkers and the significance of their role in World War II.
Thank you, and I know we're proud to recognize commemorances like this, and if you don't mind, Jimmy, I'd like to read the proclamation that you helped us prepare. Whereas diverse indigenous communities have been an integral part of the American story for thousands of years, and November has been designated Native American Heritage Month to call attention to the culture, traditions, and achievements of our nation's original inhabitants and their descendants. And whereas there are 574 federally recognized American Indian and Alaska Native tribes and villages, each with its own unique culture and traditions and languages. And whereas their customs and traditions are respected and celebrated as part of a rich legacy throughout Kentucky and the United States. And whereas Native American Awareness Week began in 1976 and was recognition expanded by Congress and approved by President George Bush in August 1990, designating the month of November as National American Indian Heritage Month. And whereas in honor of National American Indian Heritage Month, community celebrations as well as numerous cultural, artistic, educational, and historical activities have been planned. Now, therefore, I, Brad Schneider, by virtue of the authority vested in me as County Judge Executive of the County of Henderson, Kentucky, do hereby proclaim November as National American Indian Heritage Month in Henderson County and encourage all of our citizens to observe this month with appropriate programs, ceremonies, and activities. It's our pleasure to do that, and if you'd like to come up and get this proclamation. Thank you very much. And thanks to DAR for continuing to point that out to us and making sure that we have the appropriate recognition as well. Okay, we have with us Harry Pedigo from the Patino Shelter. Harry, if you want to come up and give us an update on the activities of the shelter, our Henderson Homeless Coalition Partnership. And gentlemen, there in your packets are some statistics that have been provided for their most recent activities.
Well, good morning. First, I want to just say I'm very grateful for this court and the efforts that you're putting forward to address the homeless issues in your community. So thank you for that. And thank you for letting us come in. Like, it's been an honor, truly. Y'all have this report in front of you that breaks it down by months, but I have an overall view of that, and I just want to really highlight some areas. We've had 83 homeless encounters since we've been here for the 3 months that we've been in that office. And then we've had 31 encounters with people that are at risk of homelessness. These are individuals that we have encountered face to face. That doesn't count all the phone calls we get all day long. We've been able to put 11 people into permanent housing. We've had 84 that were needing rental assistance. Of those 84, we had allotted $25,000, and we were able to help 18 of those. That means we had 66 unmet needs for rental assistance, totaling at about $41,000 that we need more in our budget. We are looking at grants and some other opportunities because that is a huge need. We had 107 individuals needing utility assistance, which due to a low budget, we were able to help 11 of those individuals, but there were still 92 of those that were unmet, totaling at about $39,000. Altogether, about $80,000 so far in 3 months just to try to keep people in their homes. So we'll be working really hard to try to keep individuals in their houses. Outside of that, we've helped a lot of different people with a lot of different things. From veterans to people with substance abuse referrals, we were able to get 7 individuals into substance abuse treatment, 5 individuals for mental health treatment, 10 individuals with employment opportunities, 7 individuals with ID cards, 25 with birth certificates, 5 with Social Security cards, 7 with SNAP benefits, and this is really just starting to ramp up. Every day we're seeing more and more of the need. So it kind of gives you an overview of what we're seeing. There's a lot of people at risk right now of homelessness. But there's also a lot of people that are experiencing homelessness, and we're tackling it from 2 different directions. So thank y'all for being a part of this. Is there any questions that you may have for me?
Just one.
Go ahead.
On your utility assistance.
Yes.
What's your cap? How much do y'all actually have?
Well, we
that
actually
you can give?
Well, we actually started with nothing. And so what I did was I was able to take some of the funds that we had in Owensboro with our KHC funds. Those cover the 7-county area with that particular state-funded program. So we were able to bring over about $32,000. That was it. When we ran out, that was it. So we're focused now on raising more funds for
Is there a
that.
referral to other organizations?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Audubon area is a big one that we refer to. But yes, there's always referrals. If we can assist right then, we're gonna try to assist in some way, whether it's get them to the right place, knocking on doors, whatever it takes. We're doing that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So when you assist them, sometimes some of this could be some mismanagement or lack of knowing how to
Sure.
pay your bills and stuff. Do y'all offer assistance with maybe teaching them?
Absolutely. Yeah, so if they're having issues with budgeting, that's the good part of the case manager. She's helping them to navigate this, right? A lot of the things that they had trouble navigating is just the system and the proper use of the system. And so we're able to facilitate that.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I know it might seem self-evident, but how do you define homeless? I know there's different understanding of what that means.
Yeah, well, they change the definition every so often. So right now, if an individual's been in and out of a shelter more than 3 times within a year, they're considered homeless. And that's kind of how we do it. If an individual is in a place that's not meant for habitation, they're homeless. If they're in a house without running water, they're homeless. And that's defined at the federal level. If there's no running water, they're homeless. So
at any given time in Henderson County, what would you think that number would be?
well, I honestly wouldn't want to tell you that because we haven't got a real grasp on it yet. The more that we think we're scratching the surface, the more that's coming forward. Rural homelessness is way different than like Jefferson County or Fayette County. It's just different. It looks different. It's out of sight. It's out of mind. A lot of people are, 3, 4 families in a place, and when that relationship's hindered, they're on the streets. So it's really hard to get a number, but hopefully within the next quarter or the quarter before that, I can give you a better number.
Yeah. And is there any challenge with what I'd call mission creep? You encounter so many different challenges. I see there's a donation here for a Greyhound bus ticket. There's so many things that go into people navigating their lives beyond just shelter.
Sure.
Can you cover all these needs?
Well, it's a very multifaceted issue, so we have to take a whole lot of different approaches, and we have to think outside the box because it's different. I mean, it is. I've seen everything in the 13 years I've done this. I've seen dentists from Evansville come over that have been homeless, and it was simple. His mother had dementia. One night, she woke up, Said she didn't know him, called the police, said he was a stranger in her house, put a restraining order on him, and until he got it all cleared up from court, he couldn't do nothing, couldn't access his bank accounts, couldn't go home, and he literally stayed in a shelter over there and come back and forth to work. So it could happen to any of us. So it's really, when you get down to looking at things, once you scratch the surface back and you address the substance abuse issue, you find out that they're just self-medicating, there's a mental health issue. Then you get the mental health issue addressed and you realize that they were molested as a child or they were abused as a child. It's just so much, and it's constantly just peeling back the layers to get to the bottom of it.
Well, I'm glad we helped create a case manager here, because obviously the need was heavy, so thank
It's
you.
a very big need, and I'll just kind of leave y'all with this. Melissa, the case manager, I mean, it's so simple. Like, she encountered this guy that just needed some socks, and that's where it starts. And it just opened up one door, opened up another one, until the trust is built. Now this individual continues to come back because there's other areas that he needs help, and we're constantly helping him navigate that. And so, you know, it may seem like pointless to go down to a riverbank and talk with somebody for a year, 2 years, but it pays off. Couldn't tell you how many people in Owensboro started out at a camp and just through outreach, meeting with them on simple little things until we developed that trust that led them back to self-sufficiency. So, thank y'all for doing this.
Real quick.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So, real quick, do you guys do you track your successes where you help people get off of assistance where, you know, because if you do that, I would think that would help with, you know, procuring donations and
Sure.
other people wanting to participate and assist, showing, hey, look, giving these people the help that they need is really moving them along in life, you know, and I'm sure there's plenty of those, and we as human beings tend to focus on the negative and the bad. So I think it's important to make sure you're tracking the good and all the help that you're doing to move these people down the road too. So if you could do that, I think that benefits you as well.
Yes, sir. And we do. We use Kentucky HMIS, which is a homeless management information system. And that database collects all this information. We can pull that at some point. Tracking progress is very hard because typically when people have been on the streets and now they've kind of become self-sufficient, they don't want nobody's help and they don't want to deal with you anymore. They want to live their life and kind of forget about that piece of the trauma, but we really do try to track every bit of it. Absolutely.
Harry, just a quick question. I know that what the city and county funded was for the case manager.
Sure.
And you've got on here, and you've received questions about funds going to things like utilities and bus tickets, things like that. Just want to clarify, the funds that the city and county have given you are going toward the case manager, and the direct support you're providing is coming from other Patino shelter funds? Is that
Yes,
correct?
absolutely. The case manager position's covered and the building over there is covered. The funds that we use for utility assistance come through the Emergency Rental Assistance Program, which is a federal program that come through KHC. They were not restricted to Owensboro. We would not use Owensboro dollars here. We would not use dollars from here over there. Absolutely not.
Thanks, just want to clarify.
Oh, I appreciate it.
And just indulge me just a second, but what are the demographics that we're talking about here locally? And what are some of the age ranges, and how many are juveniles?
That's a good question. I did not ask that before I come up here, but what I did grasp, as far as I could see, is it's about 96% white individuals that we're encountering. And I would say it's probably between 30 and 40 years old, Melissa? Yeah, is what we're seeing.
The median?
On the numbers that we sent you guys, whenever you take that entire sheet, the average age of a homeless person in Henderson County is 43 years old.
Oh, from y'all's data counts you did?
Yes, from,
Okay.
From the ongoing sheet that he's speaking of, it's 43 years old. We were kind of astounded that it's that young.
It's very young.
And the at-risk and the others, if you take out homeless and you run just the at-risk or the people that are teetering on housing instability, it's also 43 years old. So,
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks
y'all
for all I
again.
do.
Kenny Martin, moving on to the next item, Kenny Martin resigned after several years of service to the Henderson Human Rights Commission Board. And after consulting with Reverend Johnson, who is head of our Human Rights Commission, I have decided to appoint Marcos Nicholas Jr. as a replacement. Marcos has established himself now as a business partner with his father in several businesses here, and he's also a graduate of the Henderson Leadership Initiative and wants to give back more in his community, and I think representing the Hispanic community here in Henderson County on that board is important. And this is a judge's appointment, but I just wanted to let you know that Reverend Johnson and I have worked together to get a good replacement. We think Marcos Nicholas Jr. will be a terrific addition. And with that, I'll call up Reverend Johnson for an update on the commission.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for that appointment. We always want to make sure that when we talk about human rights in the board, that our board is a reflection of what our tri-state looks like. And I'm certainly excited about that appointment, excited about all the appointments, the last few appointments, getting a lot of our young professionals involved in human rights, and so we're thankful for that. I'm excited today. I have my sidekick, my best half, with me today, my wife. And the reason I'm excited is because she is now retired. And so I've been trying to encourage her to come with me. Now, she's just retired a week. Come with me to various things. And I said, if you come to court today, you get to see Angie, get to see your good buddy Angelique Comer today. So I'm just thankful for my wife. 25 years at Toyota, so I'm thankful for her.
Congratulations.
Going into I've submitted my report to you, looking at the information. I won't go through line for line, and I'm so thankful for your support for our Homeless Coalition. I'm so thankful for Miss Melissa Collier, who is our new case manager, for Harry, for their expertise through the Patino Shelter, because with that assignment and with that support, that has also helped the Office of the Human Rights Commission as well, working closely with Melissa and helping, maybe it may be providing a night of lodging for somebody who's about ready to go to the treatment facility in Owensboro, so I'm thankful for that. Most of our complaints that we feel through human rights is certainly a landlord-tenant issue, eviction notices. Most of the time when they come to my office, they're at it's an emergency situation where they're getting ready to get evicted, and once they get to the court, I tell them that the human rights, I have no jurisdiction over a judge who signs off on that eviction. So a lot of times if I could get to them before they get to that point where they get that eviction notice. I always start out when I talk about human rights, whether it's through the housing, employment, or public accommodation. The goal of the human rights, and they'll tell this around the state, the goal of the human rights, the local agency, is to try to resolve and handle matters on a local level, that we don't have to send information to the state. And sometimes we'll get clients that may bypass the local office and go directly to the state office, Commission of Human Rights. That's fine as well too. Sometimes they'll contact the office, bounce that case back to the local office, or sometimes they'll look at it themselves. Now, they're not at liberty to disclose how they rule on that matter when it gets to the state level. Employment, housing, public accommodations get a lot of community concerns. Everything that comes to the office is not, as we say, needs to be investigated. It may just be a person has parked in the handicap spot and they're not supposed to park there. What do I do? Well, reach out to your landlord, reach out to the local police department. So I get a lot of community concerns. One thing that I always share, and I've always shared with y'all, is that I want the Office of Human Rights not always to be about a negative connotation in our area, but we want it to be a positive entity for the city as well as the county. And I've worked very hard and along with the board to try to promote a very positive image in our tri-state, being actively involved in the various things that take place in our tri-state area. We can't get to everything, but we try to get to as much as we possibly can, the various things that we are involved in. I'm excited about our board chairperson, Ms. Darlene Marshall-Ware, who's just a tremendous fixture. I told her she come out of her mama's womb in human rights. And so she has been a part of the Human Rights Board for a long time, and we're so thankful for her leadership that she provides to the incoming board people. I've always talked about we. When I talk about human rights, I said we at the office, and a lot of people like, you're the only one in office, why you keep saying we? I said, well, it was always my goal to get an assistant in the office. So I'm excited that I now have a student worker, Miss Ashley Argue. She is a student worker through the Ready to Work program at the Henderson Community College. That's no money on the fiscal court as well as the city budget that they provide for the office. That is just a relationship that I was able to work out with the Henderson Community College. I'm thankful for that, for the hours that she puts in. She just started here a few weeks ago, so we hope to continue to have that presence, that help at the office. So I'm excited about the direction that the human rights is going, a lot of the things that are taking place, a lot of the work and the effort in terms of fair housing, the training that's taking place. We've had some changes within the state, Office of Human Rights, and Mr. Juan Pena is now our regional person. Dr. Cynthia Fox is our state director. And then Mr. Juan Pena is our regional director who provides a lot of support. Also, he's very fluent in the Hispanic Latino, so he gives a lot of work and help with that. One of the things that we do that I'm excited about every year is our annual Dr. Martin Luther King Junior program that we have every year on that great federal holiday. We've now secured the Honorable Mayor Stephanie Terry is going to be our speaker for 2025, so we're excited about that, and we'll be sharing more information here in the next several weeks on that program. So does anyone have any questions for me?
Just thank you, Reverend Johnson, for all you do. Really appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
We do appreciate it.
We meet the fourth Monday of each month at 5:30. You can also Zoom in, or you can come in person. So we're always looking to see our fiscal court people as well as our city commission as well too. So anytime that you have any questions for the Human Rights Office, please let us know.
Thank you for all you do. You do such a great job.
Thank you.
Okay, we have some bid openings, and if Kurt Wiesen could come up, we're going to open bids for our lighting project at the Judicial Center.
Morning, gentlemen.
Morning.
I don't have a big knife like Nick and Bill do. We received 2 bids in for this lighting project. First one is from Degg Brothers over at Evansville. And this is not going to be, because of the complexity of this lighting count and everything else, it's not going to be just straight able to read numbers, I don't believe, but we're going to try to piece it as best we can. This is for upgrading. We partially upgraded the Judicial Center to LED type fixtures, getting rid of the fluorescent fixtures, making it cost-effective savings over there. We're about a third of the way through. That was never really done the right way. So now we're trying to go out for one bid to have the rest of the job completed. It's already been told to the vendors this may be broken down into a couple different years by the time this gets done. Degg Brothers bid, and this is divided up by the floors of the courthouse. For the first floor, they got $36,203.14. For the second floor, $31,230.65. For the third floor, $31,405.28. And this is for the costs, labor and materials over there. The other bid we received was from Tom DeMar and Sons. And they've got it also divided by floors. First floor, $32,800. Second floor, $23,805. Third floor, $20,670. We'll have to take these bids back. Walking through with the vendors, like I said, this was not a very easy apples to apples bid process, because a lot of the lights were, since we're putting in fluorescent fixtures, it's not a lot of one-for-one exchanges. It may be taking one fixture out or taking three fixtures out, replacing with one. So each company that came over for the walkthrough did their own lighting count. So there's going to be several factors out to be taken into consideration with this. So we'll return with a recommendation and see if we can get AOC to approve this project.
Thank you, Kurt. Next, we have two bid openings for the road department, and I'll ask Nick Stallings to come up and open them first for a new backhoe.
This is from Diamond Equipment. They did it for a 2024 case, 590 SN, is what we required. Met all the minimum requirements that we asked for. Buckets, ditching buckets, and 24-inch bucket, 48-inch ditching bucket. They did a price of freight delivery is $146,880. So with them being the only bidder, I'd like to go ahead and get approval to purchase the piece of equipment.
Feel good about the price? And
Yeah.
good range?
So moved.
Motion and second. Any other questions? Any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, we have the mobile column lift bid. This one looks more popular.
All right, first I have L&L. Okay, their bid total, freight, delivery, training, and for the lift itself was $55,240. So there's one. All right, we got Technology International. Their bid for freight delivery and for training, $63,500. All right, we got Advanced Auto Parts. We're trying to sell a bunch of filters. I'm just joking. All right, so we have, looks like 2 different lifts. One, the price is $56,799.99. And then we have another lift. Yeah, $54,500. And this is setup and training and delivery. So, there's that. All right, we got CareTech. Oh, CareTech. The anticipation's killing y'all, ain't it?
Yeah.
It's got me flustered too. All right. So we have CareTech. They're, again, they got a capacity, lifting capacity of what we need. They have great delivery and training at $54,500. And we're getting close together here. Okay, we've got Norman Story. They bid for delivery, freight, and installation. Training is $53,974. Norman Story. That concludes our bid opening. So if you're all right with it, I need to go back and look through this information, and I guess I'll come back next week with a bid, with the solution, with the request.
2 weeks from now?
Y'all like that?
Next meeting, yeah. Yep. Any questions? Any comments? We'll wait on your recommendation. Brent Jacobs, our outstanding IT director, has been working with GRAD on a variety of cybersecurity preparations and improvements. And for those who might not know, cybersecurity is a huge issue, especially for local governments. In many cases, are not prepared to handle attacks and hack attempts. And fortunately, we have a terrific talent in charge of helping us with that. But you can never be too careful, and the sophistication of these attacks only grows. And Brent has identified a grant opportunity to help us continue to improve our defenses. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Brent, to talk a little bit more about it if you'd like.
It's a state and local cybersecurity grant, and GRAD is administering this, so there's a resolution that we need to sign to allow them to administer it. And I'm applying for new firewalls and some security for our users on phishing attacks. It will send out emails and sort of test the users, and if they fail, they get a little training, and so and there's a little more to it. But
is there a total amount you're searching for?
The firewalls are around $34,000 with the software, and the KnowBe4 software for 3 years is about $17,000.
Reason I ask is this is an 80-20 match. Yeah. Requires some money from us, but it's well worth it. Family member of mine who helps run a large business was recently their business was the victim of a denial of service attack and locked their system down for 4 days. They were able to fix that without paying a ransom, but it just illustrates the danger out there. And we have a resolution in your packet. If you don't mind, I'd like the clerk to just read the summary, if that's okay. You've heard Brent describe exactly what it is, and GRAD is helping the local counties apply for these and then administer them. So Should be
Summary is more than
straightforward.
sufficient. It's a needed item.
Thank you.
We'll read the summary. Is that okay?
All right. A resolution of the County of Henderson, Kentucky, authorizing the Judge Executive Brad Schneider to make application for and upon approval to enter into an agreement with the Kentucky Office of Homeland Security, or COHS, KOHS, to execute any documents which are deemed necessary by COHS to facilitate and administer the project and to act as the authorized correspondent for this project. This resolution also establishes procurement policy for any COHS-approved project for the fiscal year 2024 application cycle.
So move.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions, comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Good luck, Brent. Melinda Whitlock from Animal Control, your report, please.
Sorry, I'm moving a little slow.
Good morning.
Had a stumble to the ground and ground one, so. Everyone doing okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. So as always, I provided the two graphics, the graphic and the data metrics. That way you get the full view of what animal control has accomplished in the last month. As always, the at-large is more on the graphic than the data metrics. The at-large shows every call they went on. The data matrix shows what returned to the shelter. So the at-large on the graphic would probably be where they returned the animal. You know, the animal belonged to the neighbor down the street or something like that while they were there. The deceased and injured, that is mostly cats. We try to bandage them up, do the best we can with them. Sometimes by the time we get there, it's too late. So just wanted to make sure you know that's what that is. On the welfare checks are ranging out a little more than what we've ever had before. It could be someone calling about a dog without food, without shelter, without water. It could be a dog that looks sick, a dog that looks skinny. And it's just random citizens expressing concern about, someone's. Sometimes a welfare check turns into them running at large. They'll go out for the welfare check, and there goes the dog. So, sometimes they run into each other when they get called out. Occasionally, the welfare checks are quite serious, quite grim. So, there are those, and it's not pleasant, but we deal with it the best we can, and we make sure it's, cited and taken care of. We do have the estimate proposal for the Taser 7. I know we had talked about that last time, the Taser 10. We're currently waiting for the information for the insurance to catch up. Once I have everything, I will have animal control officers come in and present again and let you reconsider with a Taser that is not considered to be a deadly weapon, because we were unaware at the time that was considered a deadly weapon. So we don't necessarily need that. We just need something in the dire situations. And we will get that for you once we get everything together. The insurance companies take a bit longer than the salespeople. So, on a little side note, we did have a rather large animal control hoarding situation. I'm sure some of you probably heard about it, and I believe it'll be in the Hendersonia at some point. There was a situation where someone had all kinds of birds, all kinds of avians, and it was a very dirty situation, and the person was not able to take care of them like they would need to be taken care of. So they had to seize them. The birds are now being vetted and at a sanctuary in Nashville, Tennessee. So, it was all hands on deck. We teamed up with code enforcement to get the birds out, to, look at the home and make sure it was actually livable. And then we took the birds back and then transported them down. You could probably say code enforcement, animal control, and humane society were all a team of this one, because it was 41 birds. It was a lot. But it was my first experience with avians of all different sizes. Some of them were quite pleasant, some of them were not. So I definitely learned a lot, and I'm very thankful for having Stacey McCourt-Cook as our board president, because she actually knew quite a bit about birds, because she has one that she is in her rescue. So it was a very interesting situation. I hope we never have to do it again, but, we would if we needed to. But, it's nice that they are all being vetted, taken care of by experts that know more about birds than we do. That is about all I have. Do I have any questions?
Well, just get back to the birds. What's the end result? What happens with all these birds?
So, taking them to a sanctuary, they will. They have a vet that comes to them, and he is an experienced vet in the avians. He'll go through and see how healthy they are, if they need treatment. They were living in a condition that was poor. You can just say poor, and some of them you could tell that they were not doing so well. Some of them even had a cough because the conditions were bad. Some of them were old, so hopefully they will all make it. The bird sanctuary that we went to, they were more than willing to help. They have a huge area. They are very established, so they will be vetted and then be up for adoption at that sanctuary there.
Yeah. The owner willingly surrendered those animals, right?
Yes.
I want to make that clear.
Yes, yeah. But yeah, he did, willingly surrender them, and it's a good thing, because there was a few of them that just weren't so good, and they needed more care than we could or he could provide. They needed expert care, so.
And that's what I would encourage you, because we've seen this several times over the years in situations. The animal care is sometimes an indicator of an individual that is not able to, they get to the point where they're not able to care for their animals and not able to care for themselves in a lot of ways. So I would encourage you to train your animal control officers on contacting Adult Protective Services to get welfare checks there. I've had some contact with them during that time period, and it took them a couple of days to actually get to the point where they were considering that. And I think that really should be something that we should be looking at when we encounter those situations where somebody is getting to the point where they're, not able to care for both animals and themselves, because, we want to save the animals, but we need to be concerned about the human too.
Right. And I will note that to them as soon as I get back. I think that is something that we actually learned from this experience. It was a little different than most of us that are pretty new to this had dealt with, so it was definitely a learning experience. Anything else?
I have something that someone brought up, that we have a huge cat problem in our county, not just, and I understand that the law reads that a cat has his own domain, so there's no leash law, for a cat. And they're starting to cause people's properties to be, because they put their smells out around homes and things, and people in town are being instructed to catch them and take them to the county. And I guess what I'm asking is, if we start exterminating cats, that's against the law, right?
Let me help with this. Thank you. If you don't mind, because we just had a conversation about this with dispatch 911, and it's all about cats. And so animal control is charged with enforcing state law around abuse and neglect, which leads them to cases like the birds. They're not empowered to police birds necessarily, but in cases of neglect or abuse, they are under state law allowed to take care of that situation, investigate, take care of that situation. Locally, they are charged with controlling stray dogs, because dogs can be a threat to people, public safety threat. Cats, on the other hand, are a different story, especially what can be termed as stray cats, because 99, and Melinda, you chime in whenever you want, 99% of stray cats are basically feral cats. They are wild animals. Animal control does not handle wild animals unless they get a call about a cat that is injured or diseased, and then they take the time to try to help if they can. But other than that, stray cats with especially with no indication of domestication at all, like collars or anything like that, those are wild animals, considered to be wild animals. Typically out in the county, it's feral cats aren't as big a problem because out in the county, nature tends to take its course with predators, and I think are considered to be basically pests, much the way that coyote, for example, or a possum or a raccoon, and probably can be killed on sight if people want to. They are a wild animal, and they are potentially a disease risk and other things associated with wild animals. In the city, especially with our city magistrates, you might get calls about people wanting animal control to come up and say, take a cat they see in a tree out of the tree. That is not the responsibility of animal control. If the fire department wants to use its resources to come pull the cat out of a tree, it's up to them. But that is not an animal control function. But I think the public, because cats are cute and we have this affinity in many ways towards domesticated cats, think that they're the same thing, feral cats and domesticated cats, so they'll call animal control wanting assistance with one that they see perhaps. We had one case of a cat curled up in an engine block because it was trying to get warm. It's a feral cat, stray cat. Not animal control's responsibility. When they try to be nice, I think they try to be nice. But the problem with feral cats often is people feeding them or giving them a reason to hang around and then become almost feel a bit of ownership. And then when they don't want them or they worry about them, they call animal control. And then the key here is to understand that these are wild animals, and feeding them only exacerbates the problem. And I haven't heard too many complaints out in the county because, again, barn cats aren't necessarily something that people dislike, but they are feral. In the city, though, you might get calls, gentlemen, about this. And I just want to clarify, after a good discussion with HPD, because they often get calls about cats these days, and dispatch and our animal control folks, we all agreed that there could be untold thousands of feral cats in the city, and that's just not an animal control issue. I don't know if that answers your question, Magistrate Southard.
Well, I'm asking if you do eliminate the problem. Are you, I guess it's a Steve Gold question, are you going to come and put me in jail?
I don't do that. The sheriff does that. Question is, would I prosecute you? Actually looking up the actual statute number here. There is a statute in Kentucky law about cruelty to animals, okay? Cruelty to animals, it's in the second degree when you subject an animal or cause cruel or injurious treatment through abandonment, torturing, other things. There's animal torture, there's cruel neglect. Poisoning a dog or cat is something that is criminal as well. So a lot of it I would say, it depends on the facts of exactly how you, as you say, dealt with the problem.
But are those domestic animals they're talking about?
The cruelty statute specifically deals with kills any animal other than a domestic animal killed by poisoning. That part does not apply to intentional poisoning of a dog or cat. There is a specific section of the law on poisoning dogs or cats. I'm looking that up right now. I was not aware this was going to be a research issue for the court today, but I will have an answer for you momentarily.
I would think that, and I'm just guessing here while he looks up the actual law, feral cats would kind of be considered the same as possums.
I would be very careful in giving legal advice, Judge, until we know the answer to that.
What happens is when they're told to trap them in town and take them to the county, and everybody has a heart, so they won't take them out to the county. They take them to a county where there's a house. You see where this is going? So, oh, there's a nice home, and then they just keep getting cats.
Well, but
and
here's my
cats.
concern. Who's telling them to do that?
That I don't know, but what I was told was, and this is what I was told, not what I know, that they called the Humane Society and y'all tell them to trap the cats and remove them from their property. So,
I
to
believe-
remove them from your property, you don't want them, right?
No.
So, to remove them from your property, you have to take them somewhere else.
I believe we told them they are allowed to take responsibility for a cat and get them TNR, trapped and release. Generally, you want to release them where they were found because that is their home area. A lot of people don't want to do that. So the other option is you can rehome them. But that is all on you. That is not something the Animal Control Humane Society will be willing to oversee.
Right.
So-
And I understand that. But
Just like any other thing.
Wild animal. I mean, if you trapped, if a city, it's interesting the conversations you get in fiscal court, isn't it? If you trapped a raccoon in the city in your trash can and you took it out to the county and released it, would that be a problem?
you're not going to drop that raccoon at my house.
Apples and oranges, Judge. Apples and oranges, Judge.
You think so?
100%.
I actually trapped some
A feral
possums.
cat? Why so?
A feral cat will come right up to me and come in, and they'll come into houses, under houses. They don't get the proper care. They carry diseases. What happens if they bite you? You think, oh, I'm going to pet them. It's wanting to do that, and all of a sudden they do what they're prone to do, what they're instinctively made to do. That's a problem.
Well, but again, raccoon could do the very same thing.
Are you going to pick up a raccoon, Judge?
Some people might try. If they've been hanging around on the back
I'd say let's take a
porch.
survey on who's going to pick up a raccoon and who's going to pick up a cat. Vastly different.
Again,
So I just to follow up here, KRS 525.135 makes the torture of a dog or cat a Class D felony punishable by 1 to 5 years in prison. Yes, torture is defined, Judge. I saw the cocked eyebrow when you said, what does torture mean? And as a matter of fact, torture means the intentional infliction or subjection of extreme physical pain or serious injury or death to a dog or cat. Note the lack of the phrase domesticated. Motivated by intent or wanton disregard that causes, increases, or prolongs the pain or suffering of the dog or cat, including serious physical injury or infirmity. Torture shall include situations where the extreme physical pain, serious physical injury, or infirmity or death results from restraint of the dog or cat, which may include being, and then there's a list of things. And then later down, it defines physical injury, and it includes poisoning. Let's see. Death intentionally caused by fractures, cuts, burns, punctures, bruises due to crushing, burning, drowning, beating, poisoning, suffocating, hanging, impaling, or skinning alive, physical disfigurement, loss of function or limb or body organ or other wounds or illnesses produced by violence or a thermal or chemical agent while intentionally restrained with the intent to cause or with wanton disregard for the extreme serious physical pain, serious injury, or death. So
I'm bummed out.
Well, so
the fact that they had to list all of those things means somebody's done
Somebody's
each of
done
those
it.
things, which is
Horrible.
pretty scary.
Yeah.
But I don't know that trap and release of a feral cat, a wild animal, is somehow illegal. I don't know.
It's criminally not cool to let it off at somebody else's property.
I don't disagree there.
Uncool in the first degree.
Well, it's just, if they call me and ask me if they can get rid of the cat, I don't want to say, sure, and then I have to go bail them out later. So that's why I'm asking this question, because it's obviously a problem in this county, not this county, in the state of Kentucky. It's not getting better, it's getting worse.
Well, certainly in the city, it's a problem. And it sounds like the city problem is leaking into the
Yes.
county a bit. It's a gray area with cats about trap and release, and and this is crazy to have these conversations in fiscal court, but I didn't hear the word shooting in there,
I believe that does cause serious physical injury.
You know, it's strange.
I mean, it
we-
depends on how you define it, but.
You know,
Bazooka?
You know,
my,
it's strange we're talking about
logically,
cats.
you know, logically, for instance, anyway, wild animals. Good luck. Good luck with cats in the city, and in the county. Good
luck.
The animal control does not handle feral cats unless they've been abused or injured.
I do want to give a shout out in my area, in my neighborhood. There is a lady, because we do have feral cats. They don't usually cause a problem. But of course, the population issue, right? But there are people out there that are trapping these and taking them to have them spayed and neutered to control it and trying to make sure that it doesn't perpetuate. And that's what we've got to do, I think, as much as anything, is try to, again, educate our responsible pet owners and to make sure their pets, because they can get loose, things can happen, but also to continue maybe trap and release as far as getting them spayed and neutered first and then back into the wild.
And that's what we've tried to encourage. I know it's not cheap, but, it's only going to get worse and worse. But we try to encourage, if you feed it, take responsibility for it, get it TNR'd, get its ear clipped so we know it has a rabies shot, and then release it back. That's what we're trying to encourage in the community. I know money's tight, but it really is something that will have to be done.
Yeah, that's the challenge, is that people want to be kind to these animals and feed them without taking responsibility for them in that way, or pay for a spay and neuter. Or, I mean, again, I think it's cute factor. We feel differently about wild cats than we do about other wild animals because we think of them in the domestic sense, and they're furry and cuddly, but they're wild animals and they cause issues.
And at one point, I believe under prior directors, animal control had considered coming up with a plan where either the city or county or jointly there would be some sort of fund that would pay for spaying and neutering of cats that are brought in. Is that something that you all have considered developing any further?
Yeah, I actually have. I've actually applied for several grants. I have never been granted one, but last time I did all the math, now prices have changed because of inflation, but we could do about a dozen cats for $1,000. And that's pretty good. Now, the question of that was...
That's pretty good, a dozen for 1,000?
Because if you go through Humane Society, you would get the rescue rate. You would not get the regular vet rate. So you go through Humane Society to get the rescue rate. So it would be another one where Animal Control and Humane Society would team up for the better good of the community. I do have it drawn up, and that is based on last year's numbers. So, but I have applied for several grants. I still have that grant paperwork drawn up, and I send it out probably at least 2 or 3 times a month, just trying to see if we can get just even a grand. But the issue was the man hours to put in to do this. We don't actually have to worry about that. There are people in the community that have their own traps that are ready to line up and trap cats and bring them to us so we can have this done. So once we found out, who was willing to do it, they would bring in a cat. We would get it to the vet that is willing to go along with this, and then we would give it back to them, and they could have their cat back. And it is very feasible to do. It would just take some funding and some planning.
Feasible. I mean, you said $1,000 for a dozen cats.
Mm-hmm.
There are thousands of cats.
Well, we would start in our worst areas. There are at least 4 areas in the city and county that would need to go first, just so they would have that population control. And so we would start in our first 4 worst areas, and then we would go from there.
I think the simplest thing to do would be to advise people that call that if they are, quote, wild animals, leave them be.
That would be the simplest explanation, wouldn't it?
Because you don't go automatically try to trap a wild animal
Yes.
unless you are a trained person or with the Department of Natural Resources.
Right.
So leave them alone.
Yeah.
Simplest response you can give.
And that goes
Absolves
back-
you of any
yeah.
responsibility. It will eventually help take care of the problem. I would even go so far to say there should be something placed in effect. If you feed feral animals, there will be fines. So unless you can prove that that is your cat, or they come in and you're not willing to let them in your house, there you go. I mean, not the popular thing. I understand that I'm the bad guy here, but it's
On the
If
back
you want to
every
fix
day.
the problem, that's what you do.
But how do you enforce that? Because that bowl's not for that cat, that was for my little dog Fluffy.
Well, hey, it's been a few years ago, but I had an incident in the 4th District where the cats were using the bathroom in flower beds in the neighborhood, and the stench was overwhelming. And so I got to look, and I was being called constantly. Of course, I knew, y'all say, get a trap them and all that. But anyway, I got to the source of the problem. There was an individual that lived down the street, and when I walked up to the driveway and to the back, there was 15 bowls across the back. And I know him, I know that. And I said something to him, about, he said, they're not mine. He said, I'm just feeding them.
Yes, and that goes back to that.
They're-
If you
they're-
feed
they're
it,
not
it's-
mine.
It's your responsibility. So that's what we've been trying to convey, if you feed that is your cat. That is, you are feeding that wild animal.
I don't think they know it, Melinda, really. I mean,
At
he-
the risk of getting too far off the rails with the cat discussion, I really have learned a lot today, I'll tell you that.
I do just want to follow up on that statute I was telling you about. It's a really long statute. Toward the end of it, there is something that says that it doesn't apply if there is not intent to cause death or suffering or something like that, or prolong things. And there's some exceptions. One of them is for humane purposes. Another is for animal or pest control. So I think if it were part of some sort of program or something, then that might be an exception there. I just want to be clear that it's a really long statute and it's nuanced. But it's not as simple as Magistrate Southard was wanting. But
Right.
there are some things there, and that if anybody does want to check that out, it is KRS 525.135.
Say it again.
525.135. And like I said, it seems to really key on the intent of the individual that is taking the action.
Thank you.
And for those watching, wondering why we spend time on this, we get a lot of phone calls. We get a lot of phone calls. It's a passionate subject with some people, and we try to be responsive and to what people call us about. So cats are one of them, believe it or not. So, thank you, Melinda. Any other questions of Melinda?
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Go
Melinda.
Wildcats.
thank you, Melinda.
Next item, Recycling Director Eric Higgs would like to fill a full-time position, yeah?
Yes, good morning, everyone.
morning.
I'm requesting the court to approve the hire of Samantha Turner as a full-time recycling employee at $17.50 per hour. Her main responsibilities would be helping me clean up illegal dumps, which are nonstop. Also picking up litter on county roads, and she will also be trained in the day-to-day everything we do at the recycling center.
Another thing we get calls about constantly. So, you have the pay scale, $17.50 an hour for Samantha Turner. You get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions of Eric? I believe it's good use for her time. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thanks, Eric.
You have two reports from Sheriff Stoffer, the annual report on unmined coal tax settlement and also the monthly reports. Can I get a motion to approve the 2021 unmined coal tax settlement?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any other questions?
Nothing to do with cats, please.
Let me get a vote on that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You also have the normal sheriff's monthly reports. Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Anything else you'd like to add?
The only thing I'd like to add, really not with the sheriff's office, but I just wanted to recognize the Henderson County boys soccer team last night. They won a wonderful game against the #1 team in the state, Bowling Green, and they'll play, we believe, Thursday night against the #2 ranked team here in Henderson County. So it was exciting.
As a longtime soccer dad, I know.
As a longtime soccer dad, yes. Yes. Any questions for me?
Picked up any cats?
No.
There was a vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Rennie Sadmer, you have a motion to collect her, to accept her report? It's in your
So
packet.
move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Mr. Gold, your report.
Judge, I've got several checks today. The largest is a health insurance check for $14,780.38. Another for Aflac, $161.84. Flow through from the city, $458.33. Dental and life, $550.17 and $13.89. Bringing today's total to $15,964.61 and bringing the fiscal year total to date to $89,734.84. And Xavier said that he's never held almost $16,000 before, so I'm going to ask him to hand that to the judge. And just like being an adult, get money, end up having to hand it to the government.
All right. Thank you, Javier. Appreciate that. Get a motion to approve the county attorney's report.
So
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Treasurer Ryder, transfers and claims, and your report, please. Thanks for not trying.
There are no transfers for today. You have received your bank balances, and after paying claims today, the day-to-day appropriation line should be at approximately 33%. I do have additional claims. From the general fund to Fast Print Incorporated, these are supplies and are to come from the clerk's office supplies postage appropriation lines in the amount of $1,600. To Gannett, Indiana, Kentucky, which is the newspaper billing company, $920.94. This is to come from the election expenses, advertising, and printing appropriation line. To Bluegrass Integrated Communications, $3,824.68. This is to come from election expenses, advertising, and printing appropriation line. To Harp Enterprises, the amount of $1,067.56. This is to come from the elections, materials, and supplies appropriation lines. From the road fund to Eric Crawford, $780. This is for reimbursement for a mailbox that was damaged during some road paving and shouldering. And that is to come from the maintenance and repairs equipment appropriation line. To Ziegler Tire, $847.15. This is for parts and labor and is to come from the maintenance and repairs equipment appropriation lines. That's all.
Move to approve the claims.
Second.
We have a motion and a second approving the claims. Any other questions? I will note that, as Treasurer Ryder pointed out, I believe we should be at 33% of budget at this point.
Approximately.
Across the board, all departments are under budget, ranging from 30 to 30.9%, so that's great to see. Holding the line there. And revenues are as projected so far, and it's a good job. Thanks to all people who help make sure we stay in budget. We have a motion and a second. Pay the claims. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Is there anybody in the audience who'd like to say anything for good of the county?
I actually need to make a correction. After I was going through all the bids, what I thought CareTech just had 2 bids, you know, as the rules say, they actually had two bids of 2 different pieces of mobile lifts. I guess this is a smaller lift. I have to look back at the other one, but this lift also matches all our minimum requirements, and it's $47,000 even. So I want to put that on the record. Again, I got to go back and look through all these and see, but this one, what I thought was just a duplicate of the first bid, was actually a different bid and a different lift. So
Clarify for the record.
yep.
And that was included in the package that you opened?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, nothing has changed. I don't know anybody from these places. It was just literally when I was going through them all, rifling through the papers. A lot of them had information about the lifts involved, so once I rifled through all that, I actually found this did not match the other one. I wanted to come up and put that on record. So another quick little thing to say, as you all see in the pictures, Conway Road is completed. This was something that had to be completed, but with the coal mining, operations, for them to clear up all the open roads that had to be fixed. So this road is now open from Hatchet Mill all the way to Cheney. And this is a section of Mason Landing that had been rock for decades also. And as you can see, it's been paved, and then our guys shouldered both sides of it. I got a couple views, one looking east, one looking west, and then on the last slide is looking across the entire road. So that is all been completed. I just kind of want to put that on record that everybody in that area is probably ecstatic that they have been completed.
One thing to point out in this whole project is, we've had people really wanting these roads to be fixed for a long time after they had been part of the mine operation. And we often got questions, why didn't the county just fix them, spend our own money and fix them? We've been pursuing the required funds, required responsibilities of the mining company and their successors to fix these roads, as was required on their dime. And as many people know, the original miner of those areas went out of business, went bankrupt, and the battle over getting the remaining assets turned into money that could be used to fulfill these obligations and fix these roads took a long time. We were always worried that if we went ahead and fixed them ourselves, then trying to track down that money after the fact would have been even harder. And I really appreciate the work that Court did, County Attorney Gold and Nick Stallings did with continuing to hold the feet to the fire, the people who had control of the assets, and them working with us to finally get these roads fixed at their expense, not at the expense of taxpayers, as was required by the law. And it took a while, I know, but they're done. And there have been other parts of the mined properties that involved roads that have also been fixed over the last 2 years at the expense of the successors to the mining operations. So I apologize to folks that it took so long, but we were really adamant that the people who should pay and not the taxpayers of Henderson County. And that's finally done. So thanks for sticking with it. And hopefully the people who use those roads would finally get to use them as they had hoped. And I know that several magistrates had heard about this for years and years, and finally got it taken care of. So thanks. Anybody else for good of the county? With that, we'll go around the horn, and I'll start with Mr. Feline himself now, Magistrate Southern.
So, crop season's winding down finally. It's been a rough year for a farm boy, that's for sure. But I can see a little light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm pretty sure it's not a train, so. But we're, appreciate everybody's patience. That, I know we block the roads, we're in the way, but we don't like being there, but sometimes it's a necessary thing for us to get to where we're going, and I really appreciate the patience that we've received. Thank you, Reverend Johnson. Appreciate what you do. Xavier, congratulations, man. That's a big deal. You got picked out of your whole school, they picked you. That says a lot about you. And don't let everybody fool you. I'm a nice guy. I just have problems with cats. It's all good in District 3.
Master Tompkins.
Well, I too want to say congratulations to the parents and you as well, young man. Just encourage you to keep doing the same things that you do every day. It's important to remember that, being a leader such as yourself is doing the right thing even when nobody's watching. So keep doing that. Be kind, be respectful. Keep your work ethic in place. I expect to see good things from you. Thank you for doing what you do. Reverend Johnson, thank you too. Nick Stallings, great job as usual on the roads. I can't tell you what a benefit that is to the people in Districts 2 and 1. So thanks a lot for that. And with that, all's good too.
Master Putman.
Thank you, Judge. Xavier, it just speaks volumes to why you're even here today as a Judges Scholar. I mean, you checked a lot of boxes to get here. Your parents should be extremely proud of you. It's not something that's easy to do. But, the children that get selected, they got that inner being and the drive to do well. And I assume you'll keep that your whole life, honestly. So congratulations. Enjoy your lunch with Magistrate Starks. Usually it's kind of a thing to get 2 desserts if you want them, I see that frown on your face. And a cat story, real quick. This happened a week. Hey, no, listen. This had a good ending. There was a kitten that come up to the house and was playing with our dog, and it wouldn't go away. So my wife takes a picture and posts it on that Ring neighborhood thing, and the neighbors responded. Well, we thought it was like her kitten. So, you know where the kitten's at? It's at her house, and it's now a member of the family. So they just kind of adopted it. I mean, it was nice, friendly, but it was just kind of one of them things. I know most of those loose dogs, and y'all have heard me say it before, I'll put them on a golf cart and take them home, instead of calling the Humane Society. But that was a good cat story, a good one. So it ended well. And other than that, all is good in the fourth, Judge.
Mr. Gold.
Thank you, Judge. Congratulations again, Xavier. And it's always great when we have a young person here who's really engaged. He wanted to know what was going on. We had a really interesting meeting today. Everything from, cats to human rights to homelessness. I mean, it's really was an interesting meeting, and he was interested in the bid process and finding out what that was about. So it's always great having a young man that's really interested to see what's going on and what we actually do up here. Sometimes it's boring but important, and today it was some interesting and important, hopefully. A little more interesting than school, maybe. But it's also great just looking at your family and seeing the pride on their faces. That it is, you can feel it, and they should be very proud of you. And just keep being who you are. Like I said earlier, you're doing great things already. Just keep it up. I do want to mention thank you to Sheriff Stauffer. He's sending some folks to a domestic violence summit that our office with the Attorney General's office and the Commonwealth's Attorney's office is putting on tomorrow at the library. It's for the grad plus a little bit more region. As you can tell by the somewhat off-putting cutouts out front, October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. There have been a lot of changes to that law and a lot of ways that law enforcement and prosecutors and the entire community could be responding better to the prevalence of domestic violence that we have in Henderson and all of Kentucky. It is something that is a real problem. It's a large amount of our caseload. We see way too many repeat cases over in court, and we've got 60-plus law enforcement officers, prosecutors, social workers, advocates, nurses that are going to be at this conference all day tomorrow, and both the chief of police and the sheriff have sent some local officers there to be at that, to be part of that, and I hope this can be a start of a discussion about Henderson County as a community can work better and respond to the large number of domestic violence cases that we see. It's everybody too often gets kind of in their own silos when they're dealing with it, and I think getting everybody together in a multidisciplinary approach, learning more about what everybody else in the process does, hopefully can help the victims of these cases. So often, like I said, we see repeat cases where people keep going back to abusive situations, and often that's because they don't feel they have the resources to get away from that abusive situation. And the more that we as a local government and the judicial system can do to try to create those paths out of those domestic violence situations, it's very important for those victims. So thank you to the sheriff for sending folks to that training, and thanks to the AG's office for partnering with us to put this on. And special thanks to Linda Schreiner and Lilith Buckman in our office who are staffing it and created most of the things. So shout out to them.
Thank you. Master Berry.
Thank you, Judge. Well, Xavier, congratulations. Everybody's already congratulated you, and I will tell, won't say a lot because after all that, there's not a lot left, is there? My question is, where are you having lunch? Cracker Barrel. Hey, I ate there this morning. That's a good place. Should I tell him about the test, Judge, or just let that go? No, don't tell him. No. I always say, there's a test before you can eat on everything we covered today. And I know you remember it all, so I think you're good. You won't have to take it. Yeah. But congratulations. Yeah, congratulations. Yeah, don't talk about the cats. Thanks, Nick. Reverend Johnson, always a pleasure. Judder Todd, everybody that's here. Especially on Mason Landing Road, Nick. The lady that was kind of a spokesperson out there, that every time I went to Shereway, she was kind of on me about that road and like you said, wanting us to fix it. And now she said to pass on her congratulations to the whole court for getting that done. And she's very happy, and the other people out there too. They were really concerned about she didn't think we were ever going to do it, but they were really happy. So thanks, Nick, for all that help. And Sheriff, thank you. Eric, everybody that's here, thanks a lot. All's good in one. Thank you, Judge.
Not only was it fixed, but it's now paid for the first time, I believe.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Master Starks.
Thank you very much, Judge. And just like he said, thanks everybody for coming out and for all that you do. And I'll testify to Reverend Johnson. He's everywhere. Every time I show up somewhere, he's already there. So he is out in the community, and that's a big part of it. So we appreciate you very much and all that you and your board does for our community. It is great to have everybody else here with our jailer and our sheriff and our county engineer and our recycle center, and so appreciate everything that you folks are doing to serve our treasurer as well. But Javier, I'll be more than happy. It's my pleasure to take you to Cracker Barrel after this is over, and it soon will be. Just bear with it for just a minute. But you are a fine young man, and we are so proud to have you with us today. And I'm glad we had some good, lively discussion here for you to participate in. So hopefully it's been educational, and be thinking about what you want for dessert, because they've got some really good ones there at Cracker Barrel. I was hoping that actually Renisa, our county clerk, would be here today. This will be our last meeting before the election. And so I just want to really encourage folks to please, if you're registered, go vote. There's a lot on the ballot. There's more than just the presidential election. So if you're thinking you could just go check one box and leave, there are constitutional questions on there. There's two. Those have to be voted on independently, just like the nonpartisan races here in the city, but also in the city of Roberts, city of Corydon, our other incorporated agencies. So be sure not to overlook those. There's a Commonwealth's attorney's race as well that's countywide, and there are also appellate judges. And so those are judicial races. They have to be voted on independently. So it's not going to be just a quick one and done and you're out. You've got some choices to make, and I do hope you'll take the time to get to know the different candidates and be sure to participate. And we try to make it now in Kentucky as easy as possible. So we've got in-house absentee voting starting tomorrow. It goes through the 30th, and that's Monday through Thursday, 8 to 4:30 here at the clerk's office on the second floor of the courthouse. Friday, Of course, our hours are a little bit different, 8 to 6 p.m., so a little bit later for folks that may have to work. And then early voting will start on Halloween, which is kind of spooky, but that's okay. If you want to vote in costume, go ahead. That will run through November the 1st. We've got the Chase Fulcher Archery Center is the location for that. The hours from 8 to 4 on the 2nd of November, and it's 8 to 5 the other days, so October 31st through November the 1st. We've, I think, added even more machines so that hopefully there will be no waiting and or as little as possible. I know the clerk's office does a fantastic job every year, and they're very, very good at what they do. And the security and all that. We've got the boxes here too for drop-off. And that's what's going on right now is there is the early absentee voting too, that mail-in that's going on. But then Election Day itself, we've got 6, 7, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 different locations now. And so you can check that out all on the county clerk's Facebook page. But the voting will be from 6 to 6 as usual. Anyone in line at 6 in the evening will still be allowed to cast their votes. So again, it's just so important. I just wanted to make sure we didn't let that go by without saying that. And we, again, thank our clerk and all the people that come out from the public that work these polls for not just 12 hours, because they have to get there at least an hour early to get things set up, and then they're usually there another hour, maybe 2, to finish up the rolls and get everything back here to the courthouse to be tabulated. So it's a long day, and it's very much appreciated. I think we've got enough workers, so that's good, and that's a credit to, again, the clerk's office and their recruiting. Steve, did you want to add any, you're part of the board?
It's, they've got trainings coming up, and like you say, a big thank you to all the folks that sign up to work those polls. It is a long, difficult day.
And Brent's always a big part of this too, so thank you, Brent Jacobs, with all the technology that's involved, and that's a huge part of the integrity of the elections, so I can't say enough about him. And also, I think our road department folks have helped in the past, and if they are, again, appreciate that. Our schools are mainly our sites, so we appreciate the cooperation and the assistance with the school district too. How about some fun things? We've got the East End Trick or Treat is coming up this weekend, so come out. It looks like the weather's going to be fantastic, and I just hope everyone has a safe and happy Halloween. Please observe property laws though, and proper safety tips. Observe that while you're out trick-or-treating on Halloween. And I'll let the judge talk about what's going to happen out here in just a second. As being a person of some Native American heritage, it is in my blood, so I really appreciate that proclamation and recognition for that. And Hazardous Waste Day is coming up Saturday, November the 9th, out there at the road department. That's in the morning, I think, from 8 till noon, and certainly a great thing that you have to take advantage of. If we don't use this, we will lose this funding, and we won't have an opportunity for people to bring their oils or oil paints and other types of materials that are part of that. So if you need more information, check the Recycle Center, and they can help you out with that. What have I left out? Oh, I want to say also real quick, kudos to our hardworking and big-hearted EMA folks who over the past couple of weeks now have been collecting donations to send to North Carolina. And I'm not sure if that truck has left yet, but they were collecting even on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday. And a lot of groups here in Henderson have come together and individuals to donate much-needed supplies, material to help those folks that are hurting and trying to rebuild from one of the worst catastrophes that has hit that area of our country. I think this is going to East Tennessee. So just want to give them a shout out. And that's indicative, I think, of the type of caring people that we have in our community, and especially in county government and even, other agencies, organizations in our community. So just wanted to give them a well-deserved kudos for helping with all that. And with that, boy, That's the rest of the story. Everything else is good.
Judge, if I may, I just want to clean up real quick. Jailer Todd is also going to be at our Domestic Violence Summit tomorrow as well. I couldn't read my own notes here, sorry. But thank you, Jailer Todd, for coming out to that. Another sign of that multidisciplinary approach.
Thank you both. Xavier, congratulations. And to his parents, I know parenting's not easy, and you've obviously done a wonderful job. You got a great son. I can definitely see you sitting in this seat one day if you really want to talk about cats for half an hour. But there's a lot more into that, and everything on this list, everything on our agenda is important to people, and that's what we do. We take the things that people are concerned about, and we know that we need to make decisions for them and to try to make life as good as we can here. And one of the keys to doing that well is to have future leaders, people who care, people who invest in younger folks, parents who care, and you're an example of all that. So congratulations, and enjoy lunch, and I can't wait to see what you're going to achieve next. I appreciate Master Stark's tee-up of Dia de los Muertos, which is coming up on November 2nd, and I really appreciate Vince Tweddell being here. He did a very good job kind of summarizing the festival coming up. This will be our fourth one. Had a couple hiccups with COVID and rain last year, but it has become what organizers like to think is our largest ethnic cultural festival, and started as kind of a community outreach to our growing Latino population, and now it's popular both with our Hispanic citizens as well as everybody else. It seems to be a very fun and interesting day for everybody who takes part. 4 to 7, November 2nd, here in Central Park. Free to families, free to everybody, and lots of cool stuff for kids to do and families to do together. And it's a lot of fun. If you haven't been, I encourage you to go. If you have been, you know what I'm talking about, and please come back and join us at some point during that 4 to 7 range. And I encourage you to stay long enough to see the procession, the candlelight procession at the very end. That's probably the most poignant part of the festival, and that's where we take a small candlelight procession through the park, focusing on the whole point of the festival, which is the remembrance of family members and friends who passed before us, and it's really a poignant part of the whole day, and I enjoy it, and I think people also enjoy it too. With that, I don't have anything to add, including any more comments about cats. So I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to, second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor can leave.